And very happy Jimmy Buffett Friday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from New York City today. Mr. Randy Wang's back home on the ranch in Culver City.
John, California Attorney General Rob Bonta has a message to the federal government. You can look for fraud all you want, but I've been cracking down on it way before you thought it was a thing. And Rob Bonta said it the most Bonta way possible.
While President Trump and his loyal followers like to point fingers at Democratic-led states like California, while they bandy about the phrase waste, fraud, and abuse as a political talking point to whip up confusion and sow distrust in government institutions, the California Department of Justice has been here doing the work. Head down, sleeves rolled up, tackling fraud.
He is just the absolute worst.
He's always got his head down and his sleeves are always rolled up.
Maybe that's what was on the video the dongs have on him.
Every type of leadership is about meeting the moment and rising to the occasion, and this is what's required. And so we're stepping up and getting it done.
And just for the record, it was his buddy, Gavin Newsom, the one that appointed him, who vetoed legislation that would audit the money that we're spending on the homeless.
Yep.
So if he's claiming that he's spending all of his time working on finding waste, fraud, and abuse, wouldn't that be a good place to start an honest audit?
We're focused on the work. We are sleeves rolled up, heads down, arms extended in partnership, arms locked together to collaborate, to deliver.
And Randy, that leads us to our topic today.
Yes. See, the state of California is pretty bad at following its own recommendations from its own auditors. In fact, 75% of state audits went without any changes to state law or state regulations. And there's one person in California looking into this and making the state look like a total joke. And that is CBS Sacramento, CBS California investigative reporter Julie Watts, who is back with part 2 of her series on the state of California ignoring its own audits, which could have prevented things like the nearly $30 billion in EDD money that went out the window during the lockdowns.
Good for her.
For more, here is CBS News in Sacramento and Julie Watts.
In an era where politics feels deeply partisan, it's rare to find an issue that crosses the aisle, let alone one that crosses both the Assembly and the Senate, and that has lawmakers agreeing they need to hold themselves accountable.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're all Californians, so I think
I guess all the lawmakers watched her report.
Well, how can you watch that and not walk away and say, okay, everything in the state is corrupt from top to bottom?
Well, and it also is an indictment of term limits because so many people in the Assembly and the state Senate just got there. They don't even know who these people are. They don't even know that the audits exist. And as you'll find out, there's a specific reason all the members of the legislature don't know these audits exist anymore. And it has to do with Gavin Newsom.
I'll tell you this, too. They are so clueless, they don't even know that Frank Fats is the place to eat and drink at when you're in Sacramento.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're all Californians, so I think Republicans and Democrats will see eye to eye on trying to get to the bottom of a lot of this stuff.
Assemblymember John Harabedian.
It's nonpartisan. It's not even bipartisan. It's nonpartisan.
And State Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones.
And the auditor takes that issue up. They come at this with no bias.
Are just two of the lawmakers responding to our investigation into California's unfinished business. Government waste, fraud, public safety concerns, from public health to wildfires to billions lost to fraud and abuse.
News reports indicated
for years, lawmakers have commissioned state audits. Californians have paid, and the auditor told lawmakers what needs to change.
Your lawmakers failed to act on 3 out of 4 recommendations.
75% of all state audits in the last few decades, the state did nothing about the recommendations.
And here's the reason why. If money is being stolen, yeah, everyone's against that in theory, unless it's your people stealing the money. And if it's your people stealing the money, from your point of view, you go, well, those are the spoils of victory. We won the election. Of course, we're going to give the contracts to our friends. And of course, we expect nothing in return.
And now we're learning why. In addition to the hundreds of recommendations where lawmakers took no action at all, we identified more than 60 audit-related bills that died behind closed doors. Now, these are bills based on audit recommendations that died due to personal disagreements or pressure from powerful lobbyists.
That makes sense.
Here is what Elon said when he did Doge. Part of the reason that it's hard to stop the waste, the fraud, the abuse is because nothing is on a spreadsheet that says, okay, here's money that goes to waste, fraud, and abuse. It would be easy to eliminate that. What they do is they say, this is an organization that stands for motherhood and apple pie. And if you give them money and the money is not spent on motherhood and apple pie, and someone like Elon Musk finds out about it and goes, okay, we're going to get rid of them, they scream and yell and cry and stomp their feet and say, how in the world can you take money away from motherhood and apple pie? It's not like they just take it on the chin and accept the fact that it's fraud. Look at what got Sheila Kuehl in trouble. It was an organization that was tied to her, where I think she sat on the board, or the person who ran it sat on the board of one of her groups. There were some incestuous relationships between her and, who was it, Patty Giggins?
Yes, Patty Giggins. They had a sexual harassment hotline on the LA Metro that over the course of 5 years got exactly 8 calls. None of them actually led to anything, but it was Sheila Kuehl that would renew this multi-million-dollar contract over and over and over again. And John, can you please call her by her real name?
Louis Anderson.
Sort of, snowflake weepies.
That was another Bill Malhusian story. And then that one, you remember Villanueva, who was sheriff at the time, was investigating it. They had a raid outside of Sheila Kuehl's home. Sheila Kuehl started kicking and screaming. The investigation went to Bonta's office, where it died.
That's right. And remember, there was a dispute over whether or not they could count wrong number phone calls as calls that they fielded on behalf of the people?
That's right.
In some cases, Democratic leadership quietly killed the bills in the so-called suspense file. In other cases, the bills were gutted and amended, like this one that replaced oversight for community colleges with declaring June Pride Month.
Sounds like a fair trade.
We really need more oversight in community colleges, considering all of the ghost students, AI bots that are applying and enrolling in community colleges, getting government grants from the state and the federal government, and then taking the test to make it look like they're really there. No. We're not doing that. Let's declare it Pride Month.
Think about it, though. Let's say you were able to find all of those phantom people and say, this money should not be going to the California community college system because it's going for students that don't exist. What do you think the community colleges would do in response? Do you think they'd say, oh, yeah, I can't believe we let that one slide under the radar? No. They would say, we're going to have to lay off professors. We're going to have to cut classes. We're going to have to limit our access to students. How dare you cut our budget?
Well, and that's exactly what probably needs to happen, but nobody's going to make that call. When you have, and this is true from this story, it was when you were on vacation, and Dan Noyes did a great piece on it. 30% of all community college applications in California are fake AI bots.
So wait a minute. So we have phantom students, and are they students who don't appear in person, but they take the online courses?
They're not real people. They are AI bots that are collecting loan and grant money.
So wait, so they're scamming the system the same way that the EDD scammers scammed EDD?
Yes. But again, why have oversight of that?
In other cases, the bills were gutted and amended, like this one that replaced oversight for community colleges with declaring June Pride Month. Governor Newsom went on to veto at least another dozen bills that lawmakers did manage to pass.
I wonder how many of those were about oversight on, I don't know, PG&E.
Well, just think about that, though. Let's say you supported the initial bill that would audit the community colleges and try to make sure that we're spending money the right way. And then they change it to make it Pride Month, and then you vote against it because you go, wait a minute, this was about making sure that money wasn't being stolen. by bots. What would they do in response? They would call you homophobic. They would say that you are biased against gays, lesbians, transgenders, non-binaries, unisex, whatever.
I think you got most of them.
Wait, what was the last one? No, intersex, excuse me. That's when I think you have the gonads of a male and a female.
In some cases, arguing his agencies didn't need additional oversight. In this case, arguing,
like the vetoing of a 100% bipartisan bill, unanimous support in the Assembly and the state Senate to audit the $20 billion of homeless spending, and Gavin vetoes it.
Well, go back to a phrase that I use all the time on this program. Don't ask questions if you don't want to hear the answer. That goes when someone says, oh my God, I was driving home from work and I saw the most disgusting thing on the side of the freeway. If you don't want to lose your appetite, don't say, what was it? You know what it could be, and you know what kind of description you could get, so just shut up and change the topic. In this particular case, they don't want to start asking questions as to where the money is going, precisely because they don't want to know the answer.
in this case, arguing tracking public safety funding would cost too much.
We currently have 18 audits.
It costs too much money to find out where our money's going, so let's just keep throwing it blindly into a well.
That's when they become budget hawks.
We currently have 18 audits in progress.
Then in 2022, longtime state auditor Elaine Howell retired, and the governor appointed a new state auditor.
I look forward to echoing the chair's comments about balanced tone, working with the administration.
Who stopped issuing the annual reports outlining recommendations for lawmakers.
Listen to that. After Elaine Howell retires, Gavin appoints his own state auditor. And what's the big policy change? They no longer release a report every year to the legislature with all of the audit findings and recommendations for how to fix this state because Gavin knows better.
Right, because everything that they would print is information that he doesn't want the legislature to see.
Now, many had used those as a sort of menu of potential legislative fixes. The auditor's office tells us it stopped issuing those reports to, quote, optimize the use of auditors' resources, and says lawmakers can still go to the website and search for recommendations themselves. But with so many new lawmakers this session, well, some of them don't even know these recommendations exist.
Again, term limits was a terrible idea.
Well, term limits and having a one-party state, because if there's no one in the minority to crow about this, and to plant stories in the news media and to make this a public embarrassment for the majority party, they get away with it.
3 out of 4 is ridiculous that that's not being addressed.
But I think that there is a great opportunity with a new class in the legislature, a new governor, to really, tackle these.
Yeah, they're not going to be tackling it this year with the existing governor.
No, of course not. He's running for president and doesn't want anything negative about his time in California out there.
To really, tackle these things head on.
So CBS News California is picking up where the former auditor left off, rebuilding the legislative roadmap of recommendations to help educate the new class of lawmakers while allowing you to track whether they follow through.
By the way, you realize what this means? We now have a de facto state auditor in the name of Julie Watts, one of the best investigative reporters in journalism.
And you can't rely on them. Because we've seen it with any number of shops here in Los Angeles. We've seen it with shops in other cities. Investigative reporting is very expensive. What you do is you pay these people to conduct these investigations. Investigations that, if they were being conducted by the state, you'd have lots of people with accounting degrees. You'd have lots of people with a lot of government experience, people who know where to look. And this team of people would put together this audit. Well, if you're relying on the news to do it, you're relying on a television reporter and maybe a producer or two, and then they have to file stories on other topics in between. Because if you just allowed them to be investigators, then you would have to pay them to investigate these things for months and months and months when they produce no work. And economically speaking, that doesn't work for a lot of shops. That's why they got rid of those departments. So if that's what you're relying on, more often than not, what's going to happen is the Gavin Newsoms of the world and all of their friends who are benefiting on their proximity to government are going to benefit.
And I will tell you, what we've compiled is essentially a menu of what could be fantastic bills that have already been researched by the auditor's office.
Yeah. And when these reports come back to the legislature, it's our job to take that information and legislate.
And I got to tell you, there are billions of dollars that could have been saved and that could still be saved.
I'm hoping by the end of this year, we tackle some of it. By the end of next year, we tackle more, and we just keep going. I think we owe it to the people to do that.
And we'll be tracking as those promises become law. For CBS News California, I'm Julie Watts.
There she is, Julie Watts, in part 2 of her series, trying to figure out why California has ignored 75% of all the state audits.
Don't get your hopes up, because think about the electorate and go back to that junior college bill, where if you were looking to make sure that they spent the money the right way, at the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold, is you would be called homophobic. And knowing the electorate as it exists, if they dump a ton of money saying you're homophobic because you voted against X bill, guess what? The person who wants the legit audit is probably the one who loses the election. And that's why we have a screwed up government in California. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, we have a hilarious one in the bag that we unfortunately can't read on the air.
There's an email from Caesar, and it is his reflection on what goes through his head every time he hears drops from Sheng Yi Tao.
Absolutely.
And what he describes in the email made us laugh like little girls during the break, but there is no way I am reading that on the air.
That's right.
It could be described as explicit. Is that fair?
A little bit.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes the Gypsy Kings, featuring Nicholas Reyes at the Grove of Anaheim on August 6th. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Needlander Concerts. Good luck dialing.
And coming up next, we're going back into time. And Randy, you're going to fill me in on something that happened when I was on vacation.
The ghost students at community colleges. If you have not heard this story, you may understand why the state doesn't want to do any oversight of the community college system.
800-222-5222 is a telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And Randy, you were saying in the last segment that there is something related to the Julie Watts report that we just discussed that occurred when I was on vacation last month.
And it's the term ghost students. Now, John, what do you think that would be?
Barbara Ferrer when she was an undergraduate.
I have no idea.
Someone had to have gone to parties with her at UC Santa Cruz, and I want to know what drugs she was taking.
Oh. You have a periodic table handy?
Yeah.
Well, here's what ghost students really are. A phenomenon where a major portion of the students applying for community college in California and getting loans and grants, not just from the state, but from the federal government, are not real people. They are AI bots that are stealing that money. But the bots are so sophisticated that some of them are actually taking the online courses and passing the tests so nobody notices that they're not real.
How dumb would you feel if the bot did better than you and you actually read the book?
For more, here is ABC7 in the Bay and Dan Noyes.
We are losing millions of tax dollars right now to what are known as ghost students, online scammers who enroll in community colleges and get away with financial aid meant for actual students from the Bay Area.
Isn't this where oversight would be kind of important?
You'd think so.
I-Team reporter Dan Noyes is here with the results of a joint investigation with ABC News. Dan? Larry and Kristen, these ghost student scammers mainly come from overseas, and they are a problem throughout California and across the country. They often use artificial intelligence to expand their reach and evade fraud detection controls.
Really, how much of a loan can you get for community college?
Well, a lot of people don't finish in 2 years. And even though community college is cheaper than going to a 4-year school, if you're there for 6 or 7 years, you can rack up a lot of debt.
Admission staff for San Jose's community colleges are stretched thin, trying to catch ghost students who use stolen or fake identities to enroll in classes and obtain financial aid. The online scammers.
Boy, the identity thieves, they know how to apply for unemployment and get it. They know how to apply for college loans and get it. They're more efficient in getting money out of the state than the people who really need it.
How is it that a bot can fool the state of California? Do they just find ways to fill out the form that make themselves seem sympathetic? Where they, I guess, tell California, I'm not a computer. No, I'm a real person. I'm here illegally. I have 14 children. I'm confined to a wheelchair, and I have HIV.
Good for you.
The online scammers have had a real impact.
So we would have courses where we'd have 50 seats and another 100 plus on a waiting list. And we would find that maybe 6 of those actual enrollees were students.
Wait, so the legit people can't have access to the course because the bots are taking up all the space on paper.
There are 50 seats in the class. There were 100 people on the waiting list. After they filtered out all the fake bots, turns out there were only 6 real students.
This is EDD all over again.
Yep.
And the rest were fraudulent accounts, ghost students.
Dr. Chaidez explained she sees the most fraud in asynchronous courses in which students can work online at their own speed, but also with in-person classes. 58-year-old...
Wait, how does the robot take the in-person class?
Maybe they bring Vicky the robot from Small Wonder in.
58-year-old Murat Mayer is a business analyst with a PhD. He has no interest in attending community college. But as he started applying for financial aid for his teenage son, he discovered that scammers had stolen both of their identities, signing the father and son up for community college classes across the country.
You know, I better check my credit report. I could be going to college right now and don't even know it.
Hey, that guy may have 4 PhDs.
It's community college.
You notice that there were a lot of activity. There are a lot of applications, loan applications, grant applications. Then we panicked.
California Community Colleges confirms...
You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember those late night TV infomercials with the guy with the crazy hair that says, call this number and I'll show you how to fill out government grants?
Late night TV in the 90s was wild, wasn't it?
You call the number and they give you all this information of how to apply for real government money. That's what this is, except now the robots are doing all the hard work. But that's how easy it is to defraud the government.
What was more wild in the 1990s? Late night TV where they did stuff like that, or daytime TV when Montel Williams had Sylvia Brown on every other Friday, and she told the parents of missing children that their children were raped and killed and then raped again. And then we find out that they were actually still alive.
It was a special time.
California Community Colleges confirms that in 2024, the most recent data available, 31.4% of all applications to the state's 116 community colleges were fraudulent.
That's massive.
Yeah, you think, especially when the state's broke.
So if you hear Gavin saying that community college enrollment's at an all-time high, how many of those people are real?
Well, and then go back to what we learned about the 4-year universities where enrollment is way down. We know that enrollment in the K through 12 system is way down because they want to close schools and school districts are all having financial problems, at least the big ones are. But then all of a sudden, in between, sandwiched in between the 4-year schools and the K through 12 schools, enrollment is off the charts in the 2-year universities or 2-year colleges. Come on.
The scammers are sometimes able to navigate the system of enrolling, getting accepted, and applying for financial aid to get away with millions of your tax dollars.
What's the first thing we taught AI? How to fill out the FAFSA form.
Great.
Can you give me an idea of...
Hey, maybe I should put my taxes into the AI and they can get me a better refund.
I'm telling you, it's done wonders for me when I sit down and play 10-hand Ultimate X video poker.
You really need to go to a meeting.
Can you give me an idea of the amount of money that was actually sent to the bad guys over the past, say, 3, 4, 5 years?
Right. Without providing you an actual amount, I can tell you that it is in the millions. So they were able to fraud the system of millions of dollars. And those millions of dollars would have gone directly to our students in financial aid resources.
The total loss.
But apparently, nobody seems to care because the money's going out. It doesn't matter that it's not going out to real people. It's going to computers in Cambodia.
Well, and from the point of view of the college, who cares? Because the money's still going to the college. I guess that's fewer papers to grade for the professors. It's fewer parking spaces that are occupied by the students. The phantom students who aren't there, they don't need other services from that particular college. So it's not like they're a drain on your system. From their point of view, it's working out just fine.
You know, this is incredibly unethical, but we should create some AI bots that all they do is listen to our stream.
I'm sure there are people who do that. There's some podcasts I've never heard of, and they make claims as to how many people are listening to them. And you scratch your head and you go, there's no way that can be true. Remember when Elon bought Twitter and he decided that he would get rid of all the bots? And we saw certain individuals, certain influencers who had millions and millions of followers suddenly have a fraction of that number overnight.
Yeah, because they were all bought and they were all fake.
Yes.
The total loss to financial aid fraud in 2024, according to California community colleges, about $3 million in state funding and $10 million in federal funding. The Department of Education reports the federal government has lost more than $350 million to ghost student scams over the past 5 years.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now the DOE's Inspector General has launched some 200 investigations coast to coast.
As you're stealing identities, these loans are not being repaid. They're being assigned to people. They don't even know they have a debt with the U.S. Department of Education. Or you get some letter from the department or the servicer or the Internal Revenue Service that says you owe the Department of Education money for something you don't even know about.
And those student loan debt collectors, they never give up because when you get a student loan, unlike credit card debt, it stays with you and your family forever, even if your identity was stolen and you didn't apply to go to school.
I don't even know how you would go about getting yourself out of this mess. Just imagine one day I get a call and they go, okay, you owe some community college in Massachusetts $25,000 because you've been enrolled there for the last 8 years. And I go, first of all, I don't even live in Massachusetts. Second of all, I already have a master's degree. Why would I be there? Third of all, who the hell are you?
Community colleges are fighting back, hiring consultants such as Maurice Simpkins. The former NFL linebacker and his wife run a software security firm that's now screening students as they apply to more than 150 schools nationwide.
That's essentially where I...
You know, how is it that every simple little website, when you're just filling out a form to play online trivia or you're uploading a picture to a website, it has to do that, hey, click this button and play this game and show me where the motorcycles are to confirm you're a human. How do we not have that when you're applying for government money?
And how about this? We're the home to Silicon Valley. We have some of the smartest minds on planet Earth in our state. Why is it that we get scammed right and left from all of these online scammers like we're some sort of bored little old lady talking to a telemarketer?
That's essentially the way I like to look at it. From a football term, it's an offensive line.
Simpkins says they found digital footprints from criminal rings around the world.
Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria. Most recently, we've been seeing some Russian data where there's whole
portions of economies from countries all around the world that their biggest driver of income, and I think this actually is true in Cambodia, is scamming the United States.
Oh, I've been told that there are buildings that have what look like call centers. Like you would see a call center in the United States, and it's people just sitting there with headsets on trying to scam institutions and individuals in the United States.
I mean, it's actually coming in Russian characters in some instances.
California community colleges are deploying machine learning that recognizes false applications.
Wait, so now we're fighting AI with AI?
This is getting very difficult to follow.
I mean, I guess you can't even do a phone verify because now the AI can fake a voice. They probably are. How many loans did we give out to the Queen of England?
The Queen of England is a regular on this program.
Multi-factor authentication that includes selfies or live video. Resistance to bots.
Oh, yeah. When I tried to create a new YouTube account, that's what Google did to me. I had to take a selfie, and when it says, raise your head up, I had to raise my head up. It had me do that for 15 minutes.
No kidding.
But if you want to get a government grant for a school, we don't need to worry about that.
No, that's the honor system.
Resistance to bots and automated script attacks. They are also counting on professors to catch a name on their roster who never appears in class. Chancellor Gides tells me these efforts have vastly reduced the number of ghost students who get through.
It's still happening, so we still remain diligent. You know, we want to make sure that we're serving actual students. We're providing financial aid resources to actual students, not losing those resources to ghost students, to the criminal activity. It still happens, and that's why we remain diligent.
I think it's still going to happen.
There's got to be certain clues that someone is not legit that exist. For example, when I ever send anything shady through the mail, I never put my return address on there. You know what I do?
What's that?
I write Barbara Ferrer, and then the address is 666 Diablo Lane.
Yeah.
I just did that this week.
Are you getting sirened in New York right now?
Well, they just elected a socialist mayor, too.
I spoke with one professor who told me the scammers will sometimes answer an email, even complete a classroom assignment just to keep the financial aid money flowing. And once they get that money, they disappear.
So when you have online-only classes, and there are a lot of community colleges where a lot of it is online, that's the selling point, is you don't even have to go to this dumpy little building. You can take all the classes online. So what do you do then if the AI bot that not only applied for the money is taking the classes and passing the tests?
No, I don't know what's going to happen with online learning in the future, but it's going to be disastrous for these institutions. Because part of what you're paying for when you go to an expensive university is the experience of living there, being on campus, being around people with a similar pedigree. So your social network when you graduate can be an influential one. Well, if you're taking a class online and you're just sitting in your dorm or you're sitting in an apartment and you're not interacting with the other students and you're not benefiting from everything you would benefit from if you were physically there, why are you paying a fortune to USC or to Harvard when you could be taking that class from someplace else for a fraction of the price? And then here's the other thing. If you can learn on your computer by watching videos and listening to experts talk about subjects, why do you even need to take the classes? Can't you just teach yourself what you need to know on YouTube?
Well, the problem with YouTube is, yes, there are a lot of experts, but there's also a lot of people talking out of their you-know-what that don't know anything, myself included.
But I'm telling you, I went to school to study a lot of this stuff. And I learned a fair amount. I read the books. I listened to the lectures. But you can't be a jack of all trades. If you're a history professor and your specialty is, I don't know, some slice of the Civil War, but you're teaching about American history from, I don't know, the Civil War on, there are people who are experts on every little chapter in the saga. And you can watch those videos and listen to what happened from someone who knows more than anyone else on planet Earth. You can't tell me that you would benefit more being in that classroom and hearing from someone who knows a little bit about a lot and a lot about a little, as opposed to just hanging out at home watching YouTube videos from experts on every imaginable subject. What it's going to do is it's going to really change the way education is done. And they really tipped their hand during COVID when they told the world, yeah, there's not that really a big reason for people to be on campus anyway. It's just as good on the computer. Oh, yeah, it's just as good on the computer, and that's coming from you? Well, guess what we could do to your budget? Let's go to Al in Napa. Al, hello.
Hello. Well, I got something to add to all these students who don't exist. When they sign up or sign on, just like when they go to get a driver's license, they're turned on to the motor voter tradition. And last time I heard from a friend who's on a grand jury over in Solano County, there's about 200,000 voters that also don't exist that got a motor voter request on that request for student loans. So there's a lot of voters out there that nobody knows where they are and nobody knows who they're voting for.
That's very true. And you see it happen when jurisdictions get serious about cleaning up the voter rolls. How many people who are on those rolls who moved and no longer live there, who have passed away and are no longer eligible to vote, people who are in prison and can't vote. There are any number of reasons as to why someone should legitimately be taken off the voter rolls. But if you don't clean them up from time to time, they just get loaded with phantom voters, people who you know will not be legally casting a ballot in the next election. Thank you for the call, sir.